Hi, I'm Kelly at Book and Paper Arts, and today I'm going to show how I made this blank book art journal. It is part blank book to be used as an illustrated journal. That is a visual diary where I will be taking notes and drawing, painting, and writing about my days. I've made this book to last me for the next week. And that is because later tonight I am leaving for Italy, where I will be attending a week-long workshop on how to make medieval ink, medieval ink making workshop. I am so excited. Because of that, I wanted a small book. Of course, I've got a store-bought sketchbook, but I thought it would be nice to make a small, self-contained book that would just be for this week. Just be for this workshop and my days. So I've put together a bunch of mix-matched pages and sewn them together. If you stay with me, I'm going to show you how you can make your own. It's easy, it's inexpensive, and a great way to make your own illustrated journal, sketchbook, visual diary, art journal. If you like journal arts, if you like altered books, vintage books, paper, and other ephemera, please be sure and subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on the notifications. And you will have more of them in your life. Now let's go make a book. I start by tearing out my pages, getting them together, and then just folding them in half, getting a nice crease there. Then I can go and rough tear it to the shape that I want. For this book, I'm going with this size. It's got plenty of space for drawing and painting, but it's about just a little bit bigger than handheld. It means it's nice, light, a little bit smaller, which means that I'm more likely to carry this in my bag and have it with me all the time. And if you have your book with you all the time, it means that you're much more likely to pull it out when you have little bits of time and work on it. So that's a very attractive reason for me to have a smaller book. It'll just fit in my bag. It won't weigh much. I went ahead and started prepping this book, so I tore these pages down. You can see they've got a kind of a faux deckled edge. But it's not enough papers. This trip and this workshop is going to be 6 days. And I'm going to give myself 2 layouts per day. So that's 1, 2. That means I need 12 layouts. And so I'm taking 12 pieces of paper. That's going to give me 12 pages on this side and 12 pages on this side. So 12 pieces of paper will make 24 pages. And front and back, that will give me 48 sides. Front and back, 24 and 24. I have already tea dyed these papers. What I did was I just made a pot of tea with about 5 or 6 tea bags, let it steep, and then I poured it into a roasting tin. You could use any kind of dish. And then soak your papers for half an hour, 45 minutes. When I took mine out, after they dried, I ironed them. They had a little bit of a warp to them. That's completely an optional step. I do need some more papers, so what I'm going to do is rough tear these so they're this size. It's pretty close, but they need to come down just a little bit. If you prefer a straight trimmed edge, by all means, leave it straight and trimmed. It's completely a personal choice. But I like mine a little shabby chic. So let's start tearing. I've added pencil marks here to where I want to tear the page. And I'm just going to use this ruler for a straight edge and Give myself a slight deckled edge there. It's not perfectly precise. It doesn't have to be for this book. I don't really want it to be matchy-matchy. I want there to be a little bit of overlap for some texture. Here is the base, the basic pages that will be the illustrated journal part of this book, where I will draw and paint and write and add notes. Since this is in place, now I can start adding the art journal pages that will make this book a hybrid illustrated journal, art journal. I went around the studio yesterday and just gathered up a boatload of papers that spoke to me, that I felt that if I added them to this book would make it pretty and make me happy. You have to do the same. So I'm just going to cycle through a lot of ideas, a lot of papers. I'm not going to be using all of these. I'm going to make a nice stash, and then I can pick and choose. You can do the same. I work a lot in this muted palette in faded colors, tea, parchment. But if you're watching this in real time, it is summer. And as this is a diary of sorts, I want to add some summer to it. So I had this inexpensive book of plants that I bought for 50 cents at a thrift store. And I love these. I think if I use this, what I'm going to do is pull some papers out on a signature right here in the middle where the pages are sewn together. And if I decide to use these, I can then stitch them in and they're all ready to go, folded. You know, it could look like that. Maybe. We'll see. I also have this book of flowers. Again, from a thrift store. It was in very bad shape. It's from the 70s. It was cheap. But look how pretty some of these are. And what I'm going to do here is pull out a whole page. And if I decide to use this, I think I'm just going to fold it and then tear it to match the size of the book, like this. And this is also good because this is a coffee table book and the back side of these plates is on a matte surface. It's blank and I can do some more drawing and sketching here, adding to my illustrated journal space. I also have some free printable scans of pages like these. This is handwritten paper it's actually from 1818. And that might seem like a crazy thing to tear up and put into a book. But here's the deal. When it got to me, it already had this staining, this mess, these ink spots, which of course I adore. But it's got wormholes. I'm not sure everybody else would adore wormholes and ink spots and stains. So I don't have the nerve to sell this. I'm not even sure I want to use it in an original piece of art. Actually, I might with this one. So I'm going to keep that. It's not too bad. But here, it's damaged enough that I can now take it apart and use it for the fun of it, which is what I'm going to do. Again, if you like the look of this, I have several of these on my website. They're free. You can print them up, check out the link, and go get them. On a more accessible note, I was in town yesterday, and I went to the cheap craft store, The Works. Thank you, Works. And I bought these scrapbook pads. Now, I don't work in scrapbooking, but I got to tell you, the paper and scrapbook pads, if it looks good, I grab them because it's great stuff to have in your stash. These were really cheap, £4 each, 2 for $6. So for about $7.75, I now have all of this. It's, if you know scrapbook pads, it's a bit like a cardstock, and they usually are printed on both sides. These have a lot of marbled looking pages. And so even though these aren't original papers, I just really think that that would complement the palette and the style a lot. Let's see. Ooh, blue. And see, that's got a slate quality to it, a soft faded quality, but it's blue. So that would make a very good addition. Again, I would just tear this out and then fold it to about the same size, and you got pages. This one is Vintage Florals. And it does two things. It's got a nice soft palette, but it's bouncing the flowers. So that's giving me both the colors that I like to work in, but some summer flowers. I actually may use this one for the cover because they look as though they're done with a watercolor or an ink. And that's going to really be the theme of this book since it's going to an ink making workshop. I'm not sure. But don't be surprised if that turns out to be the cover. Anyway, if you have scrapbook pads or if you can get some, you get a lot of bang for your buck paper-wise. These are some art coffee table books that I got at the thrift store. And this was a good day. This was a good haul. I'm not gonna... Please don't think that I get a haul like this all the time, maybe every 3 years. But when I do, I grab them and then I have a lot to work with on hand in my stash for altered books and art journals and collage and whatnot. I'm not sure if I'm going to use these. I like this guy. Instead of making him into a page, if anything, I think I'm going to cut this out and add it to another page because I'm going to Italy and it's going to be an art-centered workshop. These are all from Italian artworks, and it's going to give my book a theme to it before I even start working in it. And again, you may want to use your book for a theme. So if that's flowers, if it's animals, if it's decorating magazines have so many pretty pictures that may get you started working in your pages. So tear those out and add them to your art journal, illustrated journal. That's a lot of look. I might go with this and trim it down so that it makes a page. If you've watched me make handmade journals before, you know that one of my go-to techniques is making pockets. Pockets. One of my favorite ways to make a pocket is with an envelope. This is my tax bill. Thank you, HMRC. It just came in. And it's got that parchment color. It's also got the celluloid window so that anything I put in here is going to peek through. What I'm going to do is open up the other side. So now I've got a pocket here, pocket here. And when I bind this into the journal, I'm not going to do it perfectly symmetrical, like this, 50-50. Well, I could. But what I might do is make it a little bit more asymmetrical. And put it in like this so that we've got a lot of the envelope showing through on one side, pocket. You've got a pocket here for ticket stubs or business cards or other cards. And then when it is bound into the book, okay, so there's going to be my pocket, one pocket. But now it's not a full page, it's more like a tab. And it can be a mini pocket, or I could glue something inside of it, like this, or clip something inside of it and make a little tab page. So if you have some envelopes or something, if you want to make an envelope, you can put them in there, and then pockets. In the last couple of videos, I showed techniques for taking magazine papers and coffee table book pages that were glossy and how you can sand them back and distress them and then turn them in, give them patina, age, texture, and you can use them in so many ways. But I do like to use them in art journals. So today I'm going to take a few of these pieces. I've made these in the previous videos. So if you want to go back and check those out, the last 2-3 videos, you're going to find out how these pages got made. But I'm just going to add them as a page to the video here. I put some gesso on the back so that now I can draw and paint on that, giving me a little bit more space. And it's not the full size. That's fine. It's going to give some variety and interest to the book. So, you have a page, draw, work, and there is the lady. Here is a page from a National Geographic that I sanded back and then added some terracotta watercolor wash to. And again, this is fitting the theme of my book very well, especially since I'm going to be sitting in some old churches when I'm not doing the workshop. Now, if I fold this in half, I'm losing all the oomph. So like the envelope, what I am going to do, is fold it asymmetrically. So now I can bind it in like this. And I'm going to have this page, book, page, this page, and then this can be a tag. Or, what I'm thinking about doing is, no, it's not big enough for a pocket. So it's just going to be a tag. I can leave it the way it is, or I can clip pieces to it using a paper clip or a bulldog clip, and that just adds some variety, and your book will start to chunk up. This is just, again, from a gardening magazine. Sanded that back and added a wash of coffee and water. And the same thing. I just don't feel like if I fold it in half, it's giving me as much as if I was to do it in thirds. And this one might give me enough for a pocket. I did that there. Maybe. We'll see. Could do it like that. Yeah, you know what? I could fold these in on the tab side and glue that down, and then I've got a little bit of tuck spots. Again, to add small pieces or what you will. It's time to assemble the book. This is a very imperfect sort of thing to describe how to do. I have torn all of my likely candidate pages to the same size, roughly, as the blank pages. And now all there is to do is to cycle through them, putting different pages next to different pages and seeing what papers look good together, which ones talk to you, and make you happy. You can't do it wrong. If there's any advice, I would say do try to leave a few blank pages next to each other. Don't interrupt every single one, because this way you'll have some space if you want to do larger format drawing or painting. But other than that, just start playing. Now for a cover. Until about a minute and a half ago, I was sure that this page from the scrapbook pad was going to be my cover. Really suits all of the colors of the pages, but I'm just not feeling it. Instead, I think what I'm going to do is just use one of my pages of tea-dyed watercolor paper. By the way, this effect was a happy accident. When I was tea dyeing my pages in the dish, they kept floating up, so I weighted them down with a teacup and left it there. And when I came back, I had this. Let's see. So it's just a piece of, you could use cardstock, you could use just plain old paper, you could leave it without a cover. But I'm just going to use this piece of paper here. You can see my pages are not flush. I don't care. I am going to add a little oomph to my new coverette. When I added the handwritten pages, even though they were a big mess, it's still very precious, so I kept every script scrap. And what I'm going to do is glue this down. I've just rough torn it to the eye, and I've made an asymmetrical border. I'm going to glue it here, and that is going to be my cover. That is going to make me very happy. To sew the book together, I'm going to use a 3-hole stitch. Easy, easy, easy. I put one hole in the middle, and then a hole on a 1/2 inch from either edge. To get that hole, I used, I have an awl. You can also just use a heavy needle and make that hole. So I just went through and made sure that my holes, everything's lined up, my signatures, and I'm good to go. I hope. Yeah. I've anchored the pages down. For the threads, you need, I'm using a waxed linen thread. You can use any kind of thread. Embroidery floss works well. And you know what works really good is dental floss. Because what is dental floss except a waxed thread? You need 2 to 3 lengths. 2 is normal, but I'm anxious, so 1, 2, 3, and it's only thread, and then I don't have to worry. In a 3-hole stitch, you can start on the outside or the inside. It depends on where you want your little threads to end up. Today I'm going to go with the little threads on the inside. Now, go back over and thread this through the top hole. And then pull it nice and tight. Go all the way down to the bottom hole. A lot of pages here, so I'm going to fiddle there. There we go, that went. Now, pull that tight. Now turn it over and go back through your middle hole like this. That didn't go. You have to fiddle with it. It's just the nature of stuff. Okay, there. There we go. Now I'm going to tighten these all up again. Make sure they're nice and... Don't jerk it tight. If you do, you might rip the holes out, but just pull it softly, nice, as tight as it's going to go. And then tie it together here, and you've got a book. I'm actually not going to tie it in a knot. I'm going to tie it in a loose bow. And that is because, in my experience, when you've got a chunky, messy book like this, the threads are going to loosen up as you use the book. And I've done this in the past where I've made a knot and then I've just got all these floppy pages. This way, if the thread starts getting loose, I can untie the knot and then tighten everything up again and make sure it holds together. So that's an option. Finally, I added a little bit of one of these coffee table book saints. It's like that. They were together. I sanded it back and added a coffee wash. I didn't want to add this whole big guy because it's too much look. I like how this is subtle. It adds a little bit of border and a little bit of mystery. So I'm happy with the cover now. Inside, I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to add some gesso to this. It's okay, but it's just looking a little weird. And then I'll be able to work over that. I have some scraps. I'm taking a scrap pack with me. I love how this helps me jumpstart my book, especially if I'm intimidated with the newness of it. These are also some distressed coffee table pages. I could put this on the pocket here to cover up that government font that isn't doing us any favors. Or it could go on other pages and make a beautiful beginning. You know, I'm also going to add some mark making. And I'll do most of that off screen, but off camera. But recently I was cleaning up the studio, and as usually happens when I do a deep clean, I found a boatload of art supplies that I haven't used in ages. They've been missing. And some that I found were these distress stains from Tim Holtz. I don't use them much. They're not really in my wheelhouse, but I thought this might be fun because these are picking up the colors here from that coffee table, from that art magazine page. I've got some arches. So I'm just going to work over this and start adding some messy arches. I'm not going to do perfect coverage, you know, just kind of patchy here and there, asymmetrical, like that. I am really, really happy with how this turned out. Please stay tuned because I'm going to try to be posting shorts from on here on YouTube from the workshop if I can. If I don't manage it, then you can be sure that when I get back in a week, I'm going to be making a video sharing what I learn in this ink making workshop. If you have any questions or any feedback, please let me know in the comments below. Until later, ciao and happy making.